किसी को समझ आया ये आंसर पहले बताओ। नहीं आया ना, मुझे भी नहीं आया। क्या आंसर आए?
तेरा तो गेम बजाना पड़ेगा।
How many of you have like been in crypto or just raise your hand? AI, ML, very few. Just plain on devs.
बाबा टाइम बहुत खराब आ गया।
2019 एंड उस टाइम के साथ मेरा पंगा हुआ था। कट कर देना ये कंपनी का नाम। So he texted me saying कि भाई तुम और उसका फाउंडर मेरे चैनल पे आ जाओ, मैं सुलह करा दूंगा।
झुक के रहना पड़ेगा मेरे आगे, क्योंकि मैं अपने में खुद हीरो हूँ।
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to 100x Devs cohort. I want to keep it very actionable. We've done meetups in the past, but मैं usually मैं बोल रहा होता हूँ, and the things that I speak of are usually the things that I speak of on YouTube. So to make sure there's a mixed crowd, and personally, since I'm very bullish on Web3 and suddenly we're seeing an uptick, we have these set of speakers today. We have Karan. Karan is the co-founder at OX People. I'll share all of their stories very soon. Shek, as you can see, does not even have a photo. So again, you can tell it's Web3. Striver, how many you know Striver? If he reaches on time, he's stuck in traffic right now. Anuj is the CTO of Apex. Apex, for those of you who don't know, is the website we use for our cohorts. And lastly, Oshin. Oshin is, she works at MetaMask. She's a DevRel, so take advice with a little bit of pinch of salt. But she's great at finding good markets. I'll introduce all of them very soon, a little bit more detail. But that's a high-level agenda. The first person is Karan Bedi. Karan is, as I said, the co-founder of OX People, but that's not his. That's his recent credential. Before that, he's done a bunch of things. He's actually my batchmate. So he graduated in 2019. He did a 5-year course, and he's one of those people who was doing freelancing back in college. So he had a lot of experience back then. He did not take a job from what I remember. Did a bunch of freelancing, and then eventually started up. He had his own startup before this. They raised from Y Combinators, which is a big thing. He worked there for a year. Eventually did not have a lot of fun and left it and joined Web3 full time. His Web3 story is very interesting. How many of you know Uber? Okay, pretty good. So Rippling is a pretty big company. I don't know if it's as big as Uber, but they were valued at 10 billion. 10 billion with a B is a big number in their last round. So Prasanna is the co-founder of Rippling. He's very bullish on Web3. So he started a company called OX People where Karan works. Karan worked there for a year as an engineer and now was recently promoted to co-founder and CTO. So he's the CTO of a company, the other co-founder of which is Prasanna, who has a bunch of, credentials in Web2, not exactly in Web3. So that's his background. He's going to share about Web3 hiring. They've recently doubled their team from, I think, 8 to 16, something like that. So they're hiring aggressively. What do they look for when they're hiring? And his general philosophy around hiring. So with that, let's get Karan on stage. Please welcome Karan, guys.
Hi everyone. So we'll quickly do a short survey. So how many of you have been in crypto or just raise your hand? Have interacted with crypto? Okay, very few. AI, ML, just plain on devs. Awesome.
So Karan, let's kick things off from, you were in a college campus group where you learned coding, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit about that?
Sure. So there's a group called Information Management Group in IIT Roorkee. It's a student-run group where we basically build softwares for the people, the students in college. So that was how I got started with my programming journey. Basically, how it works is your seniors teach you how to code. Eventually, you build your own projects, manage them, and eventually learn to manage teams. So this whole experience was is designed in a way that it maps out your corporate journey, how you go into a company, how you learn things, how you become a mentor, eventually a manager, and you have to do more management at the end. How many of you are currently working at a startup or want to do one, have tried something like that? Entrepreneurs in the house. Amazing. So, so a bit of background about myself. So I left my job, landed up in Bangalore, knocked on my friend's door that we need to do something. We'll do a startup. No idea what. So fast forward couple of months, we were trying different ideas. One exciting one we landed on was in AI. So we started building a company called Pivot.ai. It was backed by YC. It was very interesting 2 years. Went on to work on it for 2 years. After that, took a break. And eventually, in the last 2 years, I've been working on this company called 0x People. We are building a crypto-native social network. I'll just speak more about it. A bunch of things that I missed in between is right after the programming club, one thing that changed my life was open source. So Contributing to open source resulted in getting a lot of opportunities, especially good contract work with US based companies, and that gave me the freedom to take this leap, like leave the highest paying domestic job at that time and go pursue the dream of doing a startup, because I was able to support all that. And so it's a great thing that Kirat here is doing, contributing and making people contribute to open source. So I would highly recommend doing that. So yeah, I'll go on to next now what we are doing at 0xp. Cool. So it's a social network in Web3. You can follow what your friends are doing. Essentially what a blockchain is, on a blockchain you can have different accounts, and whatever each account is doing is public. But who that account belongs to is known by no one but you. You can decide to share it, and people do share it. Once you share it, it's like seeing a bank statement for any one of your friends. And what we are trying to do is to parse that bank statement and show you which apps or which assets or what exactly your friends are doing in English. And there are a bunch of, so because the audience is not so crypto native, I'll just like skip this part and, just show you on the right side, like this is the product that we are building, and you can do a bunch of features. You have a bunch of features and things that you can do for on-chain. So the future, how we envision it with blockchain is like when you look up someone, you don't only look who they are, how many followers they have on Twitter, what they have done on LinkedIn, but also their on-chain presence. So as you go and do more things on-chain, you create a certain history of, holding certain assets. By virtue of holding certain assets, you show which values you have, which ecosystem you are aligned with. There are a lot of people here who will be speaking about, Solana are affiliated to the Solana ecosystem. So you can look up their profile and see what's their net worth, which ecosystem they are more aligned with, which projects have they worked on. So that's the next generation of things that we imagine, a Web3 social network. And that's what we're working on. Cool. So one of the topics was, why were we building this in the bear market? So the bear was like roughly the last 2 years. Things were very bad in crypto. A lot of people were moving from AI to crypto, like from crypto to AI. And I actually did the reverse. My previous startup was in AI and I moved to crypto. And things that kept us moving was, there has been no social network movement in crypto till now. And we are seeing early signs of that happening in this circuit. There is no tooling for cross-chain ecosystem. So there are multiple chains in crypto, Ethereum, Solana, Cosmos, and all these different things. So there is all the tooling that has been built for this was in the previous era, built for developers, and we are building it for the consumer in the current. Your social identity and your on-chain reputation would get mixed. What I mean by it, like you are an influencer in the Web2 world, you have certain assets, but your on-chain identity would be, which transactions have you done, which NFTs do you hold, and all these things. And these two would get seamlessly mixed, and you'll see it as one experience. So our core thesis around all of these kept us going in the bull market, like in the bear market, waiting for the bull. And we have landed right about at the, exact moment where we have been building the product for the last 1.5 years, and now we are getting great traction in terms of people using it as crypto is starting to take off right now. Cool. So a little bit of background about the team. So we are 24 members, 19 engineers, 7 ICPC World finalists, 4 ex-founders. So this is probably the highest talent density that you can find in a team in Bangalore at such an early stage. My co-founder has previously built a company called Rippling. It's currently valued at $12 billion. He's a billionaire, and he himself was ranked number 1 programmer in India at 18 years old. So how do we hire? So we look for specifically 2 qualities: high CPU and entrepreneurial traits, which can be, are you a hustler? Are you a reliable person? By a reliable person is like, can I rely on you to give out a feature to you and just like I don't have to worry after that, it would be shipped or not shipped, or it would be fixed or not fixed. So you could be average in any one of those 2 traits, but you have to be exceptional in any one. So that's what we are looking for. In general, how do we value, how we measure after you get in? So in general, if you are trying to build your career in software development, this is how the usually cycle goes. The first thing you are measured on is your engineering capabilities. How good a code can you write? Are you able to write good logic? All those things. The second level comes out to be the product decisions. So Are you able to tell by talking to the user that what should be built? How should we tweak this one thing so that we can have better impact? So making those decisions, building that, mental models to take those decisions. The third aspect that comes is the strategy. So in terms of strategy, it's not only about what to build, but also about when to build it, what prioritization should be done on different features. As a company, what should be our strategy? As a product leader, what should be your strategy in terms of aligning different resources and building the things? And finally, it's also hiring. Are you able to attract great talent and build teams and build our own products on your own? So that is sort of the evolution cycle that you guys would probably go through as well wherever you go. Lastly, we are hiring, always hiring 100x developers. So yeah, if you are looking for a role in front end or back end, do reach out to us on this email. That's it from my side. What do you want to do in life? So for essentially getting a job and you don't necessarily need to go to college. You can learn and to join an early stage startup, build the skills. What you get from college is essentially a good networking, a good growth platform, and a good networking platform. So if you're able to build those two things outside of college, I don't think it's necessary to go to college. How I did it was basically write down all the ideas that are interesting to me, take a week, pick the top 3 ones in my head, or top 3 variations of the idea that you have, and spend 1 month building the MVP, talking to customers, trying to sell it before even you have the product. If you are able to sell it, just build it in the background. That's what we did with our first company. We sold it before we built it. So right now we don't, but the plan in the future is, on the interface itself, when you see, when we tell you that 3 of your friends are buying this token, you can press a button and buy it itself right there without going to any other site. And we can charge a small interface fee on top of that. So that is one of the different ideas. The core is, if you are building a product where people are spending their time, you have seen this with Web2 social networks that you can just monetize it in 10 different ways. One of them is advertisements. We don't want to necessarily go there, but the idea is in Web3, people are more more easily available to do transactions and give you small fees on things, and because it's all about doing transactions. So just sit on the flow of money like what payment gateways does and charge a small interface fee. There are already different ways in which this is done. One of them is Unibot and Bonkbot, and these are Telegram bots. Using the Telegram interface, they have built trading tools and they are charging an interface fee on that. Uniswap is another protocol that charges interface fee on their swaps. So for us, our users are Web3 crypto natives, degens, people who are active on chain. So both. So you essentially need a MetaMask wallet to use the product, and if you don't have that, if you're not in Web3, you would not be able to use it. So the thesis in the social network in general is also built for the existing audience, the core audience. So the thesis is we'll build for these 50,000, 100,000 people that are currently in Web3 active on chain, and eventually this market would grow. And second, this social network is different from your traditional Facebook or Google. We don't need thousands or millions of users for it to take off, because even these 50,000 or 100,000 people are driving billions in transactional volumes across the crypto. Got it. Well, it's a very good question. So I moved from AI to crypto. You would call me in the last 2 years, that would have been crazy move, right? So the idea is you have to be best at whatever you do. Maybe it's the best React developer in the market would always be valuable, no matter how much AI gets ahead or something. So find something that you are interested in, you like, and create a niche and create an expertise in some particular thing. So because I fundamentally believe that this is going to be the product that is going to change the world, essentially. If it works out 5 years down the line, this is going to be the homepage of crypto, and that's a good enough reason.
Guys, we'll have to call it here. Thank you, Karan. It was great to have you. And next up, we have the slide? We have Anuj. Let me share the journey a little bit. So how many of you have gone to harkirat.classics.co.in? Cool, a lot of people. So classics.co.in is owned by Apex. Apex is the parent company that helps educators build stuff. I'm one of their clients. They have 500 such clients. They've grown a lot in the last 3 years. I've seen their journey from the beginning. That's one of the reasons I've stuck to them, even though बीच में bugs आते रहते हैं. I still stick with them because I've seen them from the beginning. I've seen them, two co-founders, when they had no funding, raise from Y Combinator, and today they have 500 to 1,000 educators, a lot of revenue, highly profitable. So the things to learn here is Number one, how to build a startup if you want to. Number two, Anuj is a CTO who was number one from a tier two college. Number two, had a bunch of job offers in big companies like I forgot the name, Paytm or Freecharge, I guess, one of these two. Yet he chose to start up. And today, one funny story, interesting story about him is the startup he used to work at, which I forgot the name, which was another edtech, is now closing, and he's hiring a bunch of his friends from there. Because he now is in a position to do that. So in the last 3 years, he took that bet to leave that cushy job and start up. And today, the startup is doing pretty well. So these are the things to learn. He's a good friend, and feel free to ask whatever questions you want. He's Web 2, so their company is very Web 2, as you can see. It's an ed tech, but it doesn't it's a B2B ed tech. It basically means companies like 100x Devs are their clients, and we sort of cater to customers. So we're B2C, they're B2B. Yeah, that's a high level. Anuj, I'd love to have you on stage.
All right, so I'll just give a quick intro about myself. So my name is Anuj. I'm the co-founder and CTO at Apex. To simply explain, Apex is if you are a creator and you're good at content creation, do that, we'll handle your tech. Simple. So I'll come back to the startup points. I think what would be more valuable for you guys would be some of my early days experiences. So I have two stories which actually will explain how I hire and what kind of things I look when I hire engineers for my team. So I'm also from a tier 3 college, and I knew that कॉलेज I'll go switch to हिंदी कि कॉलेज में तो कोई प्लेसमेंट के लिए आने नहीं वाला ढंग की कंपनी. So I knew I had to go on my own way to figure things out, and I think a lot of you guys must be on the same boat. ठीक है, तो मेरा ये था कि यार MNC से तो ऑफर आ गया था कॉलेज की प्लेसमेंट वगैरह से, but I didn't want it कि इतनी यंग एज में I don't wanted to go for a cushy job जिसमें बस बैठ के पूरे हफ्ते कुछ काम नहीं करना उस टाइप का. So what I did was I knew I wanted to join an early stage startup जहाँ पे जल्दी सीखने को मिले, जल्दी चीजें implement हो, मेरी भी knowledge बढ़े, and I can then move forward in my career in a much speeder way. ठीक है. So what I did was कि मैं AngelList पे गया. AngelList पे startups की list थी, and I just kept looking at the kind of startups, and हर startup के नीचे एक line होती थी कि what they are doing and what their mission is. And the simplest, I was just reading through, and I was just seeing कि which of this startup aligns और मुझे पढ़ के एक लाइन में उनकी डिस्क्रिप्शन पढ़ के मेरे को किस में इंटरेस्ट आ रहा है. So I found this startup that was basically trying to teach coding to kids, and I found that very interesting. I have always had an inclination towards education and edtech and things like that. So अब वहाँ पे I found the startup, and the founder of that startup was an MIT and Harvard graduate. So I was really everything was aligning perfectly, and then again उनका career page था और उसमें form भरो, and so I decided to go a different way because form वगैरह तो भर दोगे, but there's a lot of chances that इतने लोग form भर रहे हैं, इतने लोग same चीज कर रहे हैं that I had to stand out. So what I did was I read this story somewhere on Medium or some other platform, and I'm sharing it with you guys because that story helped me. I think this story might help you. So what that story had was basically main context ये था कि अगर किसी का email ID find करना है तो नाम @ और कंपनी का नाम. ठीक है. So that's what I did. I found the founder's name @ and the company's name, and I emailed him saying that I really like what you're doing as a startup, and what I want to do is just be associated in any way possible. I didn't go to him कि भाई job दे दो. I was like even if there's no job at your place, I would love to connect, and people are very open to that. If you are not asking for anything, they will bring you in and show you around and things like that. So I was not expecting, I was very young, so I was not expecting कि कहते हैं a startup that is doing really well, उसका founder इतना free होगा कि मेरी mail को खोल के reply वगैरह करेगा. So what I did was I moved on. I did the same thing for other thing. And after 2 days, I got a reply, and he said okay, what tell me about yourself. And I told him I do this. I am a developer with this much experience and things like that. And he said just come in. We'll have a chat and things. And things evolved from there. So one story is how to get in touch. This is something that a lot of us miss. We go through traditional routes, but there are other ways. You can reach out to people on LinkedIn that are working in the company. You can reach out directly to the founders. It might work, might not work, but these are some ways that you can like approach startups or jobs that you're really interested in. And the reason I'm saying really interested in is because like you will have to show that you were really interested in. So when I went there, we just talked casually, and he wanted to see what kind of projects I've worked in. So in my college days, I worked in a lot of projects. So like it was easy for me to showcase those projects to them. And although they didn't have a position, they still gave me a task. Make this video conferencing app and take a week. And like basically what they were trying to see was, can I solve a problem by myself? Okay. So they gave me a video conferencing app idea, like just make this, and gave me a documentation ka link to just like figure everything else out. And instead of doing that in 1 week, like I really wanted, I was interested in the job. I was really interested in the guy who was leading the company, that I decided to do that in 3 days instead of a week. So that kind of impressed, or like that kind of over delivering or providing value, made them make a position that was not available. They had already hired the developer for their role, but they decided to add me as well because they liked me so much. So that is one story. And the other story I have is about, I was interviewing, that this is a bit later in my career. I was interviewing for a fintech company, and my title at that time was a full stack Monstack developer, and the role was also for Monstack. But when I went to the interview, they told me that along with Monstack, we also need React Native, someone who understands React and React Native both. I didn't have much experience in React Native, but I was really looking forward to, and I didn't want to like take no as an answer. So the person taking my interview just simply said, just make some app and show us in the next round and in React Native, so that we know that you can build stuff. So what I did, instead of just simply making any app, I replicated their app pixel to pixel, along with UPI integration, allowing payments to be done. And usually that company has around 5 to 6 rounds, because it's an MNC, there's a lot of rounds. I skipped through 3 of the rounds because of that simple project. So, yeah. So, coming back to like what these experiences taught me a perspective on how employers think, and that is what I want to share with you. Like, when I am looking at a candidate, there are some parameters that I look for. First is how much curiosity. Like when I'm interviewing someone and they ask me a lot of questions about what we are doing, I generally find that interesting that they have taken time to like research themselves, and the answers they couldn't find themselves on the internet, or which is available in the domain knowledge of our startup, they are willing to ask us. And so that is one, eagerness and curiosity. And a lot of times people which I work also, like the people that I've hired, the best thing I like about them is they are very curious. Like even if I tell them that we are making this, they want to know the exact reason we are doing this and how, like why. Asking why is a very important thing. Like, why are we doing this? Why do we want to go this way? Why not this? So ask questions that shows that you are curious and eager. Second is learning capability. How fast you can learn things. If you are given a problem, can you figure it out yourself, or you have to ask 10 questions, or do you have to like be spoon fed? So that is something that the employer tries to avoid. The employer wants that the person they're hiring should be able to take ownership of the project and do that themselves and get the thing done. So that is third. The third point I would say, like, that is something that you can get better at, but is communication. So like when there's a team meeting, or there's multiple people working on a single project, you communicating your point of view or what you are working on in the simplest manner helps a lot for your manager or senior person understand what you're doing and saves their time as well. So these are some key insights about like how employers think while hiring people. We will have some questions related to this. So I'll answer the other two questions about startup. So why I decided to do a startup? I already always had the inclination. College mein I was making projects. Me and my co-founder, with like we are like my current co-founder, we are both college mates, and we used to like spend whole day working on projects and ideas. We had around I think 15 and 20 failed projects, and I'll call them projects because it never came into fruition. But like there were so many failures in the colleges, but it prepared us for what we're doing now. So the reason I decided to pursue startup was I always wanted to do my own thing, and I even with the job that was a way to make a safety net so that like I can make that plunge into the startup world. How they went from a tech team of 2 to 20 took a long time. So we are 4 years into the company, and we hire when it's required. Like we don't hire in bulk, but we hire smart people who are willing to go above and beyond to solve problems that are interesting to them. So one thing I'd like to add is building public is also very important. Like I have hired people I've found on LinkedIn or Twitter because they have posted about some project that they did, and people commented on them. They showed up on my feed, and I've reached out to them to like just chat sometimes, and sometimes offer positions or even consultations or internship, things like that. So that is something that you should definitely do. Build in public and post whatever you are making, whatever kind of project that you are doing. Post it on Twitter, post it on GitHub, write a blog on it on Medium. These things it might not work on the same day, but these kind of things come around in the future, and it will help you in ways that you can't even imagine right now. I've covered everything that I wanted to speak about. So I would like to know what you guys want to ask about. Guys, also I'll share about why it was easier for me. Like I think I was very privileged in the sense that what I did was in my college days, I wanted to learn. So I was learning Android development. So I used to make apps. And I decided like rather than just keeping those apps on my local system, I'll just publish them on Google Play Store. I didn't have any experience with marketing or anything like that. I just decided, all right, I'll make something, I'll put it on Google Play Store, I'll click a few screenshots, and I'll just post it. So I did that with 10 or 15 apps, and it works as a portfolio as well. And that is what I thought about it. And in my third year, I found like me and my cousins were playing a game called Catchphrase. So we saw this game online, and I decided like, okay, it required a physical device, and I thought like, no, not everyone has access to a physical device, so why not let me make an app that does the same thing. So I created that app, not thinking much. I saw on Play Store there were no other apps to do that, and I posted that app on Play Store, and it blew up in kind of a way. I got around 20,000 downloads in like 2 months, and so I didn't know ways to monetize that as well. So I read around and found that like, okay, you can offer a premium app. So what I did was I didn't understand in-app purchases, ads, Google ads, all those sort of things. What I did was replicated the app and just marked it as paid with a few features extra in that build, and I put that around like just before Christmas. So in like for US audience, it's like a very big holiday. So that the paid app also blew up, and I started making money, and that gave me a passive income, and it has been giving me a passive income since then. This is 2016. So you never know. That is why I'm telling you that you never know what your project might become. someone might want it and would contact you to acquire it. Some project might give you a passive income that you never thought you will have, and some might just get you an interview or reach out from a big personality online. So yeah, that's another story. All right. Does anyone have a question? Yeah, sure.
Hello.
We get a mic.
Like if even if we are as good as the other people who are from tier 1 college, right? But still, just the tag of the tier 1 college helps them.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'll answer that. So honestly, like that is what I also used to think. Like if I mention my college name, people would be like, "Oh, like you." Even if I tell right now, you guys won't know which college.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in a Delhi private college, right? But honestly, like if your work speaks for you, right? Like the story that I mentioned in the beginning, the person who invited me, he never asked my college.
But the people like them are really few in this industry. Like what I think.
Yeah.
I can be wrong
So
also.
that depends upon, okay, if I have 5 candidates and both of them have no prior experience or no projects to showcase,
Yeah.
then like looking at me, for me, then college will become a parameter.
Yeah.
But if you put a person with their projects and their experience, so why like a 4-year experience gets paid more than a fresher, right? Because that becomes their that becomes their portfolio. That becomes what defines them. So that is what, like if you have a good portfolio or projects, or you have a good like proof of what you have done before like when you are interviewing, it overshadows your college or things like that. For me, I also used to think that, but in my journey, I have never answered the question. I've never showed my mark sheets. Things like that have never happened with me because I've never gone to an MNC and things like that. I've mostly done like startups, and I would say at least in the startup culture, it's not like I have never seen anyone's college. I mostly like when I get resumes, most of the time I'm looking for projects or what is a GitHub repository. If it doesn't have a GitHub repository, I mostly skip that resume because that is as an engineer or as a coder, you need to have a GitHub profile and you need to have either your own project or projects that you have contributed. Competition in ethics, so there's definitely competition. And what I've realized in like starting so many startups and them failing is, we always used to find space and we were like, oh, there's no company in this, or we should do that. But that's actually not the best way. If there's a competition or there's a company that is in that space, that's actually good. It gives you a proof of concept in the beginning. You know there's a market. So that is actually, I think it is actually a very good thing if there's another company or competition, because first of all, you don't get lazy. Like as a startup, because we know that there are other competitions. It's always we always think of being better. So I think like competition helps you evolve as well and keeps you up to date on things. So I think competition is a good thing, at least in like startup world. It's really good.
I think we'll have to call it here, guys. Please give a huge round of applause to Anuj.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for doing that. You guys want to talk to my first Web3 mentor who got me into Web3 next?
Yes.
Go. So please put your hands together for Shek. Oh, there you go. So as you can see, PFP मतलब profile picture है वहाँ पे बंदे की शक्ल नहीं है. That means they're a Web3 person. My first Web3 mentor, teacher. So 2 years ago, I got into Web3. I learned about Solana, and Shek is one of the few people in India who knows Solana very well. There aren't a lot of good Solana engineers. He'll probably share that very soon. So he taught me a decent bit about Solana, got me into my first job. He's himself won $50K in a Solana hackathon. He's raised funds for his company before this called WordCell, and he's currently working at Super Teams. He's one of the core members at Super Team. How many of you know what Super Team is? Not a lot of people. It's a place where I learned about Web3. Basically, it's a community just like 100x Devs, very focused on Web3. Tanmay Bhatt is one of the core members there as well, if you might have heard of him. Things to learn from Shek. Number one, how to get better at blockchain development. As I said, one of the few people in India who knows Solana development very well. How to win hackathons. $50K in a single hackathon is decent amount of money. There's people make more as well, as you'll see eventually. So don't think like this is some very big magical number. It's very possible in Web3, and you have an example right in front of you. Who's hiring in Solana because he's currently working very closely with the Sol ecosystem. He's seeing the pain points of lack of engineers. He's tweeting every day, we need a Web3 engineer in the Indian standard time zone. He's not able to find people, and how being in the right group chat is going to change your life. That's going to be his topic for today. With that, let's welcome Shek.
Happy to be here. How many of you know what Solana? How many of you have heard of Solana or of Super Team? Oh wow, yeah, that's like quite a. So today I'm going to tell you a story. It's a personal story, and it's about how being in the right group chat can change your life. I know because it did happen for me. So what I want to do out of this talk is probably share a little bit about my own journey and how you could probably do something very similar, right? To give you a bit of background, I've been doing distributed systems for the last 10 plus years. I was an early engineer at Semantics 3, and then the company got acquired in 2020. After that, I was super bored. So that I found Solana and Super Team just at this particular time where I was so bored in my whatever I was doing at this company. Right after the acquisition, I went from a 20-person org to a 20,000 person org. I still remember the time where I spent like 9 months debating with the other architects in the company about why we should use Neo4j or AWS Neptune, because the data that we have is inherently they are graph-like, but then our internal cloud policies were like you can only use Postgres and it has to be hosted. So it was a whole lot of change for me, and I was naturally super bored. This is when I came across Solana. So I'm not sure how many of you are here on Twitter. Okay, nice. So in order to kill time, I set up a non-Twitter account. Basically, even though I had a long career behind me, I brought none of that in, right? It's so easy to go get a job because if you have a long career behind you, you have those as your credentials and you can do whatever you want. But I decided to, let me not talk about any of that. Let me just start by setting up a non-Twitter account with a cartoon PFP, right? Because that's what I saw everybody on Twitter was doing. Although it was too naive of me that I just went and did that. But setting up this anon Twitter account and finding the right group chat, 10x whatever I was doing. And that is the story that I want to share with you today. Can we get to that was me when I had to literally argue every week on an architect's call about why we should use Neptune instead of Postgres. So if this is it's good that most of you already know about Super Team. Can you scroll down a little bit? It's a good thing that most of you already know about Super Team, but just to put it in context, Super Team is the sky hook for any talent. The sky hook is you are aching towards something better. You want to better yourself, and you just don't want to take whatever is out there for you, right? You want to better yourself, and that's exactly what Super Team is. Super Team's motto is that capital finds the least resistant path to talent, and all you need is talent and an internet connection. So we are so today we are good mix of the best founders, devs, engineers, and operators in the ecosystem. And one of the core metrics that we track very, very closely is our community GDP. In the last 2 years, Super Team members have earned and contributed close to $3 million in the community GDP. So yeah, it's if you're somebody who is high on talent and ambition and low on entitlement, Super Team is where you want to be, right? So yeah, for example, there are these 4 young developers who are probably all of them less than 18, not even old enough to have their own credit card, but they're as members of Super Team and by participating in Web3, they were able to just change the trajectory of their life. Can you play the video?
Builders, innovators, founders. Anyone who's changed the world has needed 3 things: opportunity, support, and capital. What if we could give you all three? What would you build if you had access to all three?
What we do in life echoes in eternity.
How many of you have participated in a hackathon before, or like how many of you are entrepreneurial that you see yourself like starting up at in some point? Can we see a show of hands? Oh wow, it's awesome. We have a very entrepreneurial crowd. The hackathon has already started. Just scan the QR. It has all the resources that you want to get started building for the hackathon. I'm also, we are hosting like build station at CoinDCX's office like in Bangalore all throughout March. I'll be personally there hosting office hours, so you have access to me to get help you shape your idea, help you shape your architecture, and so that you can make like a killer submission into the hackathon. And this is like a first step towards your startup. Okay, so now we can open the floor for questions. The hackathon is still the best way to get started because I'm just sharing you my personal story. I also got started like very, very similar. I was like coming from a Web2 background. I hadn't done much of Web3 outside. I've done distributed systems. That's a different thing. But purely Web3, I hadn't done anything. Turns out there isn't a lot of difference between Web2 and Web3 if you know how to build things, right? So at the end of the day, it's the same TypeScript libraries. And if you want to build smart contracts, like you can build smart contracts. For Solana, it is Rust and Anchor. You also have front ends and compiler front ends in Python and TypeScript if you want to build. So this has like linked to all the resources. It will take you to hackathon.superteam.fun. So under that, there you have like an entire repo of things and the resources to help you get started. So it was mostly whenever he had something that he wanted to ask, he would come, he would ask me. And that's all. That's probably the best way, because then you want to be very high intent and you start doing your things first before you ask somebody for help. So that way, Kirat was already doing things and he had like specific things that he wanted help on.
That's a great point. I think if I would have approached him, ऐसे कि start कहाँ से करूँ या मेरे को पैसा कमाना है, whatever. That's not the best way to approach someone with who has so much knowledge to share. So the best thing you can do is build something. When you're stuck somewhere, they'll help you out because they're themselves interested in that. For example, for me, I was building a Solana video series back then. So a lot of questions I had there, he helped answer. And then eventually, when I started to look out, he knew कि हाँ Kirat को आती है India में Web3. So he sort of helped me refer few places. So that's the high level.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for being such a lovely crowd.
Try to keep the enthusiasm up for the next talk. It's by Oshin. Oshin is going to share her experience on doing a bunch of Web3 jobs. She's changed 8 Web3 jobs in the past 2 years. Currently works at Consensus. Has a 150K offer. Let's see if that changes the mood of the audience. Maybe not. And you can pretty much ask her things around how to find growing markets, what she's good at. She's won the Seoul Hackathon twice. I think she's made like 30-40K doing that. The same one that Shek won.
कि भाई तुम और उसका फाउंडर मेरे चैनल पे आ जाओ, मैं सुलह करा दूंगा. And that's when we started talking. उस टाइम पे I think I had 1,500 subscribers, पता नहीं कितना था. I was kind enough to offer that. तो वैसा तो कुछ हुआ नहीं, but हाँ तब से number saved था, तो we were in conversation throughout. And अभी I'm seeing him grow. It's pretty amazing to see him grow. Specifically in the last 2 years, you have really done so good. Twitter खोलता हूँ तो मुझे सिर्फ कोवर्ट दिखता रहता है. मतलब ट्विटर खोलो तो ये भाई साहब से रिट्वीट करता है इसका उसका, तो यही सब चलता रहता है. But anyways, I've been running a YouTube channel, just in case you don't know. I've been running it from 13th March, for 4-year anniversary, like completed 4 years yesterday, 13th March 2020. I think we have gained quite a good number. The one thing I'm proud of my YouTube channel is, if you go to Take You Forward, hardly you'll be able to figure out that I'm a software engineer at Google. If you go through the entire, you might go to Striver, you might figure it out, but if you go to Take You Forward, which is my primary channel, there's hardly any mention of Google. There's hardly anything clickbait, but we still managed to gain around, I think, 522, whatever is the number today. That's what I have. So thank you so much, anyone who has subscribed over here. If you haven't, please do, and please share it across as well. With that, I think we are pretty much late, so I'll take some questions. We'll start from this row. Any questions from this row? Anyone? We'll take some questions. Okay, here. I think that's where problem solving comes in. So a lot of people do fight over DSA versus dev. So the problem with people thinking DSA versus dev is because they think DSA is lead code, and I don't agree with it. DSA is not lead code. Like backstage, I was talking with a lot of people about this thing, DSA, and most of the people think I open up a lead code question, I code up the solution, it gets accepted, and that's what DSA is. So if you stick till there now, I don't think you'll be able to solve new problems. I'm not sure if you'll be able to crack Google or not. No one to comment on it, but you'll not be able to solve any new problem that comes in. The reason being, you coded a solution, but you never explored a better solution. So if you go to Lead Code discussion forum, there are plenty of solutions which are generically better than you. For an example, I was giving this example at back. If you pick up any sliding window question, the obvious solution that would come to your brain would be something like a right pointer and a left pointer, right? You move the right pointer, and then when the window doesn't satisfy the condition, you move the left pointer, correct? And you keep on moving, and whatever is the longest length, that is what you will return as the answer. But that technically takes big O of 2n, if I talk about it, because you're moving the right, then when it doesn't satisfy, you move the left, correct? So eventually the right pointer is moving from the front to the back, and the worst possible scenario, the left pointer will also move from the front to the back. So that's a n plus n, that's a 2n. Now that will be accepted in a lot of interviews. But did you explore a solution where I say that I could do it in big O of n, where I move the right and left together and I don't shrink the left much? So there's a solution for that as well, but a lot of people don't explore it. Why? Because they don't have the curiosity to figure out, okay, how does it work in big O of n? So as long as you're not able to get into that zone of why does it work in big O of n, how does it work, you have to look at it at a different perspective. Same with pick up a question like sort an arrays of zeros, ones and twos. It has a very simple solution: low, mid, high pointer, left, right, something like that. But if you don't get into that beauty of the solution, your brain will not open up. So it's very important that you open up your brain. And that's why I always say people try to give a lot of contests, because contests will give you a lot of unseen questions. Be it code forces, be it lead code. Try to give more and more contests, because that will give you unseen questions. And when you solve a lot of unseen questions, you eventually are prepared to tackle those kind of rounds or those kind of scenarios, right? Because at lead code, you're just solving repetitive questions, but when you're solving a contest, you're always solving a question which is not seen to you. So eventually you put a lot of stress on your brain. It's similar to dev, right? When you encounter a problem, you don't know how to solve it. You take that, you paste it at Google search, or probably as of today, you open GPT and paste it over there. So same thing as goes for the contest. So I'll recommend give more and more contests that will have your confidence higher. That's the answer. Any other question? Okay, sure. Who doesn't need money? I think everyone needs money. So the thing, like I am a firm believer of something, and that is, if you are in one domain now, and if you can go to the peak of that domain, you'll end up earning quite a lot. It can be any domain. As you said, a lot of domain names, right? You can pick up any domain, and if you end up excelling it, like if you go probably near the top, I'm not even saying like probably top 0-1%, even if you're in the top 1-2% of that domain, you'll end up actually making a lot of money. Stop switching. Instead, pick up the domain that kind of attracts you or whatever, and then start getting into that. Don't focus on other people. Like mostly it happened in colleges. Colleges mein, if you know C++ and you saw your roommate preparing Python for an example, and he wrote like a 2-liner code and you're writing like a 10-liner code, you're like, oh, Python aata hai bhai, usko Python. But come today and you know Python आना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, right? So eventually with experience you'll understand this, that there will always be someone who will earn more than you. There will always be someone. You can't go till the top unless until you are Mukesh Ambani for that reason. ठीक है? So there will always be someone. यहाँ पे भी कोई ना कोई होगा जो तुमसे ज्यादा कमाएगा, right? And शायद आज नहीं, maybe 5 years down the line there would be someone, or maybe you never know, right? So looking at other people and getting demotivated, you shouldn't do it. Focus on yourself. That's what I do. For an example, there's a lot of creators, they create a lot of videos, everyone does different things, but what I have been doing for the last 4 years is, okay, this is my life. I enjoy working at Google not because of the money, and there is a reason for it, because my side hustle gives me a lot more than what I earn over here. So for Google, like, I do it because I enjoy it. So you have to figure out the enjoyment plus the money factor and keep doing it. Stop looking sideways, because every time you look sideways there will be an Audi going by, so there's no point in looking by, right? तुम Audi में चल रहे होगे, there will be Porsche going by. फिर Porsche में चल रहे होगे, Ferrari या फिर Rolls Royce जाएगा. तो लिमिट नहीं है, greed की लिमिट नहीं होती है. So ask yourself what makes you happy. For me, whatever I'm making as of now, I can afford what I wanted to. That's it. And इसके बाद जो मिलेगा, I always consider it as a plus. And have that mindset, trust me, you'll start enjoying your life much more. कर सकते हो, ऐसा प्रॉब्लम नहीं है C++ डेव करने में. The problem here is the lack of resources or the lack of awareness. So कोई तो यूट्यूबर था, he saw his video, तो he said कि C++ मत करो because C++ में डेवलपमेंट नहीं होती. मैंने सर पकड़ लिया, बोला भाई क्या बोल रहे हैं तुम. So problem is बहुत लोगों को पता ही नहीं है C++ में भी बहुत ज़्यादा डीप में डेवलपमेंट होती है. If you look at HFT firms, so many of them actually code their algorithms in C++ because it is way too fast compared to probably Java or something. So C++, Google में भी I had a friend who was working with something related to storage. So storage पे he was completely working on C++. तो अब प्रॉब्लम है ये है कि अवेयरनेस उतना नहीं है, तो उसके चलते people are not doing that much. And कहीं ना कहीं I feel that MERN stack is slightly easier to adapt, slightly easier to learn. इसके चलते क्या होता है, वो उसकी adaptability बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है क्योंकि people are aware of it, people can learn it in a fast pace. थोड़ा C++, it requires your concepts, your fundamentals to be very strong. तो C++ में you could do as well, but उसके लिए वही है, तुम्हें बहुत ज़्यादा explore करना पड़ेगा. You'll not find a lot of resources. That's why you start doing MERN. But I feel if you're a good developer, you could pick up anything. Like throughout the 4 years I started with Java, I shifted to Angular, and I'm doing Android, and my team is building everything on MERN stack. So इतना कुछ मेरे को इधर उधर से वो ऐसा बन गया है. तो डेवलपर यार पिक कर लोगे, क्योंकि डेवलपर का एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इट्स ऑल अबाउट प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग. वो सिंटैक्स ही रहता है यार, मतलब कोई भी चीज करवाना है वो तो सिंटैक्स ही है, राइट? अगर तुम्हें पता ही नहीं है क्या लिख रहा है, यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू राइट. सो डोंट थिंक मच अबाउट MERN stack. ये सब फोकस जो भी सीख रहे हो, the core focus should be, are you able to solve problems? And if you're able to solve problems given any tech stack, it hardly requires 2 weeks to pick it up. 2 weeks you'll be able to pick it up. And if you're not able to, if you want to do something, Google and read a documentation, read a short project about it, and maybe during the weekend pick up a very small project, build on that stack. You'll eventually learn it, right? So that's the way to go. But don't stress कि ये करना है वो करना है. कोई भी चीज pick करो और चीजें build करो. Don't just watch lectures. That's what I'll say.
You never get rejected in any technical interview,
and I think that's the wrong assumption. I never got rejected. I got rejected. That's where the story started. So I remember I got an internship interview for Microsoft. That was in 5th semester. So I went to Hyderabad. Microsoft sponsored everything, 5-star hotel, everything, flights. And I was there. They had 3 DS rounds, and as usual I was able to clear all the DS rounds because I was very good at computer programming during that time as well. And at the last round there was 5 people, and at that 5 people what they did was they took 2 people, and that was more like an HR round, like where do you live, etc, what do you do, etc stuff. And they took 2 people. So I went to the HR and I asked, hey, why did you take why did you reject me? Like, you asked simple questions. I did answer them, and they answered one thing, that from today's slot we had two slots to fill, and since 5 of you qualified, we had to frame out people on the basis of CGPA. So my CGPA at that time was 7.2. So they just kicked me out because they took 9.1, 9.2 people. So CGPA matters sometime. So anyone who's saying on internet CGPA doesn't matters, maybe across the years, but when you're in college, on campus, these small opportunities, CGPA tends to play an important role which you might never understand. So that thing happened, and I still remember I came out of that campus. It's beautiful. The Hyderabad campus is on the hills. You take a lift from one floor, you go to the 10th floor, and then when you walk out on the 10th floor of the terrace, it's actually the ground floor of the other building. So that's beautiful. Like, there's one building, there's other building on the steep hills. I came out of the campus, so there's a footpath right outside it. Sitting over there, I cried for 1 hour, and I went back college. I said, it's not going to work. I need to study. And I ended up securing a CGPA of 9.8, 9.6, 9.7, and probably 9.5. I ended up making my CGPA 8.1. So that's what I did from that phase. And that's the first interview I got rejected. After that, I told myself, see, I'll get rejected, but I need to ask myself, do I lack? Now a lot of people will say here, मैं तो अच्छा था, मेरे को नहीं लिया. But you need to be honest to yourself कि actually में कमी क्या थी, because see, मेरा CGPA कम था, तो ठीक है कम था, 2 slots थे तो वो 3 तो नहीं लेंगे ना, तो उनकी तो गलती नहीं है, तो मेरी गलती है, मेरे को 9.5 रखना चाहिए था. That's what I realized, and after that I never got an interview opportunity till my 7th semester, December 13th is when I got an Amazon internship email. Test दे दो, तो मैंने test दिया. December 16th I got an email that you got shortlisted for Amazon internship interview at Hyderabad. Terms and conditions applied. Reimbursements will not be provided. December 19th को मेरा वो था last semester exam था. December 20th को internship interview था. So I had to take a flight, and my financial condition, like my family's financial condition, till the day I worked was not that great. So whatever it was, so I couldn't take a flight. So I had some savings. जैसे तैसे करके I took a flight, and I took a one-way flight. I had no option of coming back. कैसे आऊँ मुझे नहीं पता था. So I took a one-way flight. वो भी I was studying in Jalpaiguri Government Engineering College. उसके बगल में जो airport है, that's a military airport. So the last flight takes off at 5 p.m. in the night. After that, there's no flights taking off. So college से airport 3-4 घंटे दूरी पे थी. तो मैंने अपना semester examination 1 घंटे के पेपर छोड़ दिया. 1 घंटे में लिखा, and I left for that exam. तो via Delhi था, and December 20, you all know smog कैसा रहता है दिल्ली में. So I flight to Hyderabad got delayed. It was supposed to take off at 10 p.m. It got delayed. It took off at 6 a.m. in the morning. I landed in Hyderabad at 8 a.m. पूरा रात सोया नहीं, because every time they're like 1 घंटा बाद उड़ेगा. So I was sleepy like hell. I reached that campus. There's 2 DSA rounds. And I still remember my last DSA round. I think the girl asked me like 5 or 6 DSA questions. पूछे जा रही, and we were like answering. It was like a 1 hour round. And at the end they said I got that Amazon internship. That's where my life changed, I feel. And जब वो Amazon internship मिला, उसके बाद मुझे याद आया कि मेरे पास ना होटल है रहने के लिए. I didn't book a hotel. I didn't have a flight back, nor a train ticket. So I called out one of my friends who was my computer programming friends. I still remember him. He's a very close friend of mine. So I called him, भाई तेरे घर में एक रात रह सकते हैं? यार आ जाना भाई, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. So I went to him. I stayed there. उसने मुझे खिलाया. And next day I said मैं जा रहा हूँ. So he said तू ले ले फ्लाइट का पैसा, इंटर्नशिप तो करेगा तो तू दे देना. क्या जा रहा है, इंटर्नशिप का स्टाइपेंड तो इतना हाई है, दे देना. फ्लाइट का वाला नहीं, मैं नहीं लूंगा. And I took a general train. It was on 21st or 22nd of December में जनरल ट्रेन दिया. क्रिसमस का दिन था, एंड टॉयलेट का सीट होता है वो उसके एकदम पास. आई सैट विद अ हेवी बैग, एंड आई ट्रैवल्ड 35 hours from Hyderabad to Calcutta. I was so happy it didn't matter to me. So I traveled from there. I came to my mom and dad and I said कि हो गया. And so that was my first interview, technical वाला. उसके बाद I was working there. After that, there's one more interview I got, that is media.net, and I got an offer from there, and after that, that's it. And after that, I gave Google. So technically, I gave 4 interviews, just rejected at Microsoft, and बाकी जगह CV shortlist नहीं हुआ था. इसीलिए तो एक ही इंटरव्यू मिला ना. Yeah, that's it. I think we'll wrap it. It's pretty nice meeting you guys. Hopefully we'll see you. Chalo. Hello.
Against it's no surprise, 'cause we know better than to